Alright, a new sequel in the DCEU. Please be better than Wonder Woman 1984. Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner, and welcome to my review of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a sequel to 2019 Shazam, as well as the 13th film in the DCEU. David F. Sandberg, who directed the first film, is back behind the camera. And for the returning cast, you have Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, and for the new cast members are Rachel Zegler, Lucy Liu, and Helen Mirren. In this sequel to Shazam, Shazam and his foster siblings that became superheroes are back in the action to stop new villains on the rise, the Daughters of Atlas, from using a particular weapon to destroy the world. I was very excited about this sequel because I had a blast with the first Shazam. That was my favorite DCEU movie until the Suicide Squad topped it 2 years later, and that's also my t-shirt. That movie was such a refreshing change of pace for the DCEU, and I love that it was the superhero movie version of the movie Big. It was hilarious, heartfelt, entertaining throughout, and Zachary Levi was born to play Shazam. And I was excited to see what they had in store for a sequel where they could take the story and characters this time, and both Zachary Levi and director David F. Sandberg returning. The first trailer looked like a lot of fun, although I was worried that the second trailer of Fury of the Gods showed way too much. All I was hoping with Fury of the Gods is to be as good as the first movie and keep that same humor, charm, and entertainment from the first movie intact. Then I was surprised to hear mixed reviews for this movie. Some people enjoying it, some people are mixed on this movie, and some people just didn't like it, which worried me a little bit, but I kept an open mind for this sequel. Now that I've seen Fury of the Gods a few days ago, what are my thoughts? While I won't deny that some parts of this movie were entertaining, I just can't help but feel this was just a mixed bag of a sequel, and it's a pretty inferior sequel to its predecessor. While not a bad movie, or certainly one of the worst in the DCEU in my eyes, but it's pretty disappointing. Let's start this review with the pros. First, the performances from the cast are good. Zachary Levi shows again that he is pitch-perfect casting for Shazam with his charisma, humor, goofball energy, and even does a good job in the dramatic scenes in the third act. If James Gunn wants to use Zachary Levi as Shazam in his DC universe, despite the DCU getting a fresh start, I do want to see more of Zachary Levi as Shazam after this. And the rest of the performances are solid from Jack Dylan Grazer, Asher Angel, Jaimin Hansu returns as the Wizard and is given more to do, and he's still good. And one new addition I did enjoy was Rachel Zegler as one of the Daughters of Atlas. I thought she had some charisma and cool powers. And I am happy to see more of this actress after her amazing breakthrough role in West Side Story 2021. So I'm happy to see her in this, and she's got the Hunger Games prequel coming out later this year. I'm a little skeptical about that at the moment, but I'm looking forward to seeing her in that. And David F. Sandberg does a solid job directing. He does a solid job crafting entertaining action scenes on a bigger budget and scale. And like the first, he does infuse his horror elements in the more intense moments of the film, letting you know that this director has come from a horror background. And at times there are pretty good effects in this movie, especially some creature effects that I thought were really cool. And there are moments where the humor and charm of the first is intact. I won't deny that I did laugh at a couple moments or lines here and there, and found enjoyment in the action scenes. Particular one action scene at the beginning of the film set at a bridge, with the Shazam family trying to save many people as they can from this bridge collapsing. That sequence I thought was a lot of fun, and I really liked the song choice there as well. And I did like this one subplot that I felt like had potential to provide depth in the film, with Billy Batson and his foster family. Although I do have an issue with that subplot, I'll get to that later. And there was one scene between Billy Batson and his foster mother that I thought was well done and heartfelt, and I do think that dramatic scene is probably my favorite scene in the film. And sadly, that's where my positives end, and now let's get into the negatives. My first issue with Fury of the Gods are the villains, the Daughter of Atlas. At first, with a promising opening scene set at a museum that set the stage for both of them, I thought they had potential to be good and menacing villains, but they came off as underdeveloped with their backstory not being explored enough, and forgettable villains that didn't leave an impact. And sad that you have an Oscar-winning actress, Helen Mirren, in one of those roles, and especially Lucy Liu, and both of them just felt wasted here, given a weak script and villains to work with. Although I can say this, they were much better villains than that villain in Black Adam, whatever his name was. Next is another issue I had with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The humor and CGI felt hit and miss. At times I found this movie funny, but then other times there were jokes that just fell flat and they were just a dud. And there was one product placement joke in the climax. At first I was like, okay, this is kind of funny, but then the more they do it, I was just like, okay, they're just overdoing it at this point. And there was one scene with Shazam where he's having a dream. At first that scene was like, okay, this is kind of funny. But then there was one effect they do with the wizard, and I just thought, did they really need to do that? And it was kind of similar reaction I had with MODOK and Quantumania, where I'm just like, no, I don't like this. Just why? Just seriously, why? And that leads me to the CGI. Good for the most part, with a few creature effects that I thought were pretty cool, but then other times it does look spotty, and there was some noticeable green screen in like the flying scenes. And the climax did feel overblown with CGI. And I did prefer the smaller scale action in the first movie. One big issue I have with Shazam 2 is I felt like the story couldn't maintain that same simplicity as its predecessor. There were subplots that just go nowhere, with Shazam struggling with imposter syndrome and him struggling to keep the team together and trying to do their own thing. Doesn't really go anywhere. And some other stuff going on in this sequel, Freddy wanting to go solo, and his romance with Rachel Zegler's character, stuff with the wizard and the villains. And I did like the subplot on paper with Billy Batson turning 18, worried about him getting kicked out of the foster family. As you know, in the first movie, he was abandoned by his mother and never really had a true family. So I thought, okay, there's definitely potential for that subplot there. That could be very interesting to explore. Let's see what they do with that. But my issue is that subplot felt underdeveloped, rushed, and felt like wasted potential. Felt like that subplot should have given more attention to, although that scene was heartfelt when they bring that subplot back. But it also felt like, okay, that subplot done, on with the action. The first film I felt like had a simple but stronger narrative, with better humor, action, villains, emotion, and character work. And lastly, without spoiling anything for those who haven't seen it, what happens in the climax? They make a bold move. And I was curious to see how they were going to handle that emotional punch to the gut moment. But what happened instead felt like a slap in the face. But what happened felt the definition of forced, shoehorned into the extreme, and very confusing, and I was just like, what? Why? What? Wait, what? Yeah, it just felt like that moment they couldn't have think of another way, so they just do that. It was just like, you're just gonna have to accept it, so there you go. It felt like they were trying to aim for a cheer moment, but that just felt so forced to me. Just why? So yeah, that moment in the ending just somewhat ruined it for me and kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, honestly. In conclusion, while there are moments where the humor and charm from the predecessor is intact, with good performances, Fury of the Gods ends up being an inferior and underwhelming sequel that couldn't maintain what was great about its predecessor, making for a lackluster sequel. I would recommend this movie to you if you're a fan of the first Shazam and if you're looking forward to seeing the sequel. Curious to hear your thoughts on it, if you liked it or didn't like it, or if you're a comic book fan and if you love Shazam and the comics and if you're curious to see this movie. I would not recommend this movie, however, if you didn't like the first Shazam. I don't know if you're gonna like this one, or if you've been critical of the DCEU, felt like they've been making hit and miss films. So I feel like it might be 50-50, where you might enjoy it or you might not like it. With this and Quantumania, which I were both looking forward to, but ended up letting me down sadly, I really hope Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse don't let me down, as I am super excited for both movies. So 3 months into 2023, this is a pretty weak start for comic book movies, unfortunately. And like with Quantumania, I remember thinking, it was not bad, mildly enjoyable, was originally going to give it 3 stars out of 5, a B-. But the more I thought about it and the more I've written down my notes, the more I feel disappointed, sadly. And now to grade it, I'm going to give Shazam! Fury of the Gods 2.5 stars out of 5, a C+. Certainly not one of, or the worst film in the DCEU in my eyes, but considering how much I loved the first Shazam, this should have been so much better. And not gonna lie, with the hit and miss quality of the DCEU over the years, I am feeling DCEU fatigue at the moment. While there are films that I think are good to great, I love the Suicide Squad, I enjoyed the Snyder Cut, I still like Wonder Woman and the first Shazam, but with films like Wonder Woman 1984, which I thought sucked, Black Adam I thought was fine, I didn't like Batman v Superman, hated Justice League and Suicide Squad 2016. With how much I've been feeling the DCEU has been a mixed bag and not connected, I am actually excited for James Gunn being in charge of DC, and I love hearing his Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters announcements. I think what he's announced and what he has in store sound really awesome and interesting, and I'm on board for his goal in wanting to make a connected universe in film, TV, gaming, and animation, and making sure the storytelling is consistent and good. So I can't wait for James Gunn's DC Universe and Superman Legacy in 2 years, which he's writing and directing, him doing a Superman movie. I can't wait for that. And as for the rest of the DC films coming out this year, to be honest, my excitement for The Flash has been neutral. I thought the trailer was enjoyable, didn't get me super excited, like, oh my god, I can't wait. I was just like, looks cool, I guess. I am excited for Michael Keaton's Batman, how this is going to adapt the Flashpoint Paradox story. I'm curious to see how this is going to reset DC, but also at the moment, I am worried about it being a mess, and again, the DCU being hit and miss, and Ezra Miller is an awful piece of shit human being, so we'll see how The Flash goes. But I do want the Flash movie to be good after hearing test screenings have been very positive and James Gunn loving the film. So The Flash, we'll see how that movie goes in July, if it's good or not. Blue Beetle is coming out in August, that's in the DCU. I don't know a lot about the character, but I am curious to see a trailer and hope that one's good. And honestly, I'm not really excited for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I thought Aquaman was fine, although I really like Jason Momoa as the character. I'm just like 50-50 on that movie at the moment, so we'll see how Aquaman 2 goes this year. And where would I rank Shazam Fury of the Gods in my DCEU ranking? I would probably put it at number 7, in between Birds of Prey at number 6, which I do enjoy. I give that like a B or B+. And Aquaman at number 8, which I've been like up and down over the years. I was like, that movie's kind of enjoyable, but also a bloated mess. Is it enjoyable? It's like, yeah, not really working for me. So yeah, I would probably rank Shazam Fury of the Gods at number 7 in my DCEU ranking currently. So I'd like to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on Shazam Fury of the Gods? If you've seen it, do you agree, disagree with my review? Or if you haven't seen it, are you looking forward to film or not? Let me know below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts on this movie and want to see more reviews like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here. And don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.